We are gonna do something that I like to do, and that is chocolate chip cookies. I will say one thing. Sometimes people think it's done, like this. It's not done. Fluffy.
Oh.
So that's what you want. I love Toronto. I love walking along Bloor Street. I love Bloor West Village. And yeah, I mean, I could keep going about Toronto. I love it. I think it's been voted one of the best places to live in the world. And I'm happy to call this home. I wouldn't want to move anywhere else in the world. This is always going to be home.
Hi, Evelina.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming over. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you so much. Evelina taught me how to make crepes, so I trust her so much. And to do what we're gonna do today.
We are gonna do something that I like to do anytime I'm craving something sweet that is quick and tasty, and that is chocolate chip cookies.
Wow, so interesting.
Yeah.
So, let's go to them.
Let's do it.
How I can help you?
Well, surprise!
Oh.
You get to wear the one with the cats.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, are you sure? Do you want this one?
I don't care.
Okay. Here we go. So we're gonna get started. We first need to soften some butter. So what you can usually do for softening the butter is you can leave it out for a few hours. But I didn't do that. So we're gonna microwave it 10 seconds at a time. And it will soften. There we go. Double tasking. No pressure. Half a cup of sugar in here.
It's new.
It is new.
Wow, unpacking.
Ooh! Yeah,
Okay.
it's like chemistry. You have to add the exact amount.
Full.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we add half a cup of sugar and half a cup of butter. Oh, we need half a cup of brown butter as well. So today we're halving the recipe. We're putting it into half because we can't have that many cookies.
So one cup full.
Half a cup. So this is quarter and another quarter.
What's the difference with this sugar and this one?
The taste? I don't know. This almost makes it more syrupy, I think. Is that just me?
I think it's more healthy, no?
I think it's more healthy too. Yeah. Probably. So we have a little bit of healthier and not healthy together.
Okay.
Makes for delicious. Right?
But we will think that it's more healthy.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're done with the sugar. Now, what we gotta do, I'm not looking at the recipe, so, I mean, I've done this enough times, I should know by now. We're gonna put this in here. You can do the honors, miss. Oh, sorry. Make sure everybody can see. Nice. Yeah. So we put all the sugar and the butter in, and so this next part, you have to do it for a long time. So this is the attachment that I use on my mixer. And you have to do it for a long time. And I'll show you the difference. So a lot of people just do it until, I'll show you in a sec. I will say one thing. Sometimes people think it's done, like this. It's not done. You have to wait until it's fluffy. So we leave it there for 8 minutes.
I want to ask you something. Please tell me about Toronto. Your impressions, your feeling of the city. How long have you been lived here?
I love Toronto. So I grew up actually next door. I grew up in the city called Mississauga, which is just over to the west. But I grew up really close to Toronto. So I went to university in Toronto. I went to high school in Toronto. And even when I was like going to school in Mississauga, I'd come to Etobicoke, which is a section of Toronto. I'd go there for my dance classes. We do our shopping there. Like, I always gravitated towards the city. It has so much to offer. The city is so diverse. There's people from all over the world here. I think that's something that makes the city really special. And it has some of the best food, some of the best entertainment. And myself, I come from an opera background. Lots of great classical music in the city. And yeah, I mean, I could keep going about Toronto. I love it. I think it's been voted one of the best places to live in the world for quite a while. And I can see why. So I'm really proud to live here. And I was born in Belarus, but I moved here with my parents when I was 3.5 years old. So I was very young. And I'm happy to call this home. I wouldn't want to move anywhere else in the world. This is always going to be home.
Do you feel like a city dweller, or would you like to live out of town in your house and sometimes come to downtown?
I mean, I guess, would you count this as downtown, or
I think
like in the city?
Maybe city.
Yeah. I have to say, I rarely go into the downtown core. I love walking along Bloor Street. I think I'm really lucky in the neighborhoods that I'm living in now. I love Bloor West Village that we went to today for Ukrainian festival. It was really fun, right?
Yeah.
And I love the Junction, another neighborhood just north of us, Roncesvalles. There's so many good places to grab a snack, to grab a cool cocktail, and just to walk around. I mean, it's very friendly in terms of walking. Going into the downtown core, I don't even do that very often now. But you go for, if I want to see an opera or go to a new restaurant with friends, I like doing that. I think living in the city, but for me, being kind of outside of it, I'm kind of in the suburb of the city, and I like that. And it's great that Toronto is it's basically a city of houses. There's so many houses here, so see? Fluffy.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So that's what you want.
It doesn't look like a lot.
Well, we haven't put the flour in yet. So this is just butter and sugar. And you want to make it fluffy. If you already put flour into this, this is a home baking tip for you from professional home baker. I'm not a professional. If you had put flour into this, what happens is when you mix flour with moisture, with like water or whatever, it starts to produce gluten. So it starts to get like bread.
Wow.
So we want a chewy cookie that's crispy on the outside. We don't want like bready cookie, we don't want like a muffin type texture. And so whenever you're working with cakes, cookies, anything that you want to be light and airy, you don't want to create like the muffin bread texture that comes from gluten. So you'll see when we put the flour in at the end, the minute the white disappears, we stop mixing, or else we make it too hard. So what do we do next, you may ask? It's very easy. We crack an egg. Would you like to do the honors? In the meantime, I will get the vanilla extract. You could just go here.
Just like here?
Yeah. We're going to use that for the flour, so. Oh, I got it. Okay, good. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Also, this recipe is brought to you by allrecipes.com. Just Google chocolate chip cookie recipe on Google, and you'll find it. So now we mix again. We need to rub down the sides so that then we get everything. Ta-da! And now we let it go a little bit. Ooh.
Ooh, our interview is background music.
Yep. Nothing beats the sound of mixer. There you go. So that's about, we're actually almost done this part.
So, what are we doing now? It's
Water and baking soda.
water. It's hot water.
Yes, just so that then it can like spread more evenly in the mixture. All right. And then we're going to do the fun part, which is putting the flour and the chocolate chips in. And then the next fun part is putting it on the pan and then waiting for it to be done. And then the best part is eating it. You can keep doing this on the mixer, but it's more fun. We're going to mix by hand because that way we make sure not to over mix at all.
Let's continue.
Let's do it.
Do people in Toronto need a car?
So, no. And there are many people. So, you're looking at me because you're like, I think you do need a car. It depends where you live in Toronto. If you live near the subway and your work is somewhere near public transportation, or like you live near public transportation and you live in the city of Toronto, you don't need a car. Because, yeah, but if you live in the suburbs, everybody in the suburbs has to have their license. It's hard to get around without a car because everything's really spread out. But in the city of Toronto, you don't need a car.
Okay, maybe public.
Unless you need it for your job, like me.
Maybe not only subway, maybe public transportation like bus or something.
Buses, streetcars, subway. They're building a light rail. There's the GO train as well, and that actually connects the suburbs more. I think, I know in 2017 that Toronto's transit system was voted best in North America. I know a lot of Torontonians were upset about it because we're always striving to be our best, and so we were like, what about these closures? But it is a very comprehensive system, and it's getting better. There's like a lot of plans for expansion in the transit system, and more plans to connect the suburbs and like the other cities outside of Toronto. So, all we can do is work towards being better. And I think we're doing that as a city, so that's good.
I am living out of city of Toronto, and about buses. Our buses is so difficult.
Yeah, so it depends which city, right?
Yeah.
So Toronto buses, I would say, are much more connected. But then, because every transit system is kind of for each city. So, like for you guys, I don't even know what municipality has your buses.
I don't know too, but I talked with some people.
Yeah.
They told that it can be one bus in 1 hour or 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here it's much more often than that. If it was once every hour or two in Toronto, there would be hell to pay.
How much does it cost approximately, public transportation here?
I honestly can't remember because I drive so often for work right now. And we have something called it's a new system that they put in a few years ago. Well, I guess it's not that new anymore, but it still feels like it. It's called Presto. And so you just have a card and you put money on the card and you tap it. And I don't even know. I think I pay like $3 something for 1 2-hour trip.
It can be subway, bus, or something.
Anything,
else.
as long as it's within 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Baking, it's your hobby, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think I got really into it actually when I became lactose intolerant. So many baked goods have milk or cream, and I can't have them. Or like even chocolatey things have milk or cream. So I started like craving something sweet, but I couldn't eat it from like a bakery or anything. So I just decided to make it, like start making stuff. And I've actually, when I was, in university I studied music. But when I was in high school, even though I went to an arts high school, one of my favorite subjects, one of my favorite courses was chemistry. I loved it so much. And I just remember my lovely, lovely high school chemistry teacher being like, I love baking. Baking is basically chemistry. And ever since then, I've just been like, this is my chemistry. This is my science. My dear. So, but you need to absolutely make sure in baking, if you're not measuring your flour, I have like a scale. That's when you do bread and stuff. But when you're putting it into like a cup, never do this. Like that. Never. Don't do it. Because you just packed all the flour in and made it hard. You need to make sure there's air in between. Oops.
Where did you learn it?
I watched a lot of videos and I read. So you know when there's a recipe and there's a whole story before the recipe?
I didn't read.
And I did. I love. It's so annoying. There's so many words, but I love reading it, and I learned something. See, that's how I know all of this stuff. So yeah, it's important to do it like this, and also be very messy in the process. Okay. Very good. All right.
Only chocolate inside.
Right. For now.
Only chocolate.
Yep. That's what I tell them. Okay. And then I lost my half cup measure, so I'm putting a cup and a half. So this is the, how much am I putting in? A cup and a half. This is a cup and 1/4 and a cup and a half. And what I'm going to do is so remember I said don't over mix, no mixing too much. So I'm going to put the chocolate chips in, and there's like walnuts in this too. And I thought, why the heck not? And now 1 cup of chocolate chips. I didn't put the salt in. Insulting. And we'll throw some walnuts in there. Don't do this if you have an allergy. It'll be bad for you. That's good. Just a little bit. Very good. Ice cream scooper. And we go like this. Okay.
The cost of living in Toronto is really high, right?
It's hard to say because it's an international city. I mean, I think international cities always have a higher cost of living. In some cases, it could even, it's a difficult question to answer because like the same job here and somewhere else, you might be getting more for that job here. So it might be worth it to be paying more, and you're also making more money at your job. But there's definitely a low supply of housing in the city, and you can see that especially like right now. Well, I won't get too much into it, but like the lease market is very intense. You know, it's getting very expensive. And you can see that all across the board in North American cities. Obviously Toronto and Vancouver in Canada being the big examples because they're the bigger cities. And like in the States, you would see like New York and San Francisco that have these high costs of living. Yeah. I think sometimes in a way it might come with the territory of being an international city because it's in such high demand. Yeah.
What is the climate of Toronto?
One day it can be summer and the next day it can be snowing.
In summer?
No,
In summer season?
in the transition seasons. But you probably noticed in the summer, one second it's a storm, like thunderstorm, and then in 20 minutes it's sun. Because we live so close, like we are on the lake, we have the lake effects. And so it's just all over the place. So in the summer we can go up to, I don't know, with humidity we can go up to 40 degrees. It's like 30, but it feels like 40 degrees. And in the wintertime, I don't know, it could be like -20, but feels like, again, because of wind chill. So these are like the lake effects, right? The wind chill, I think. I'm assuming. The wind chill and the humidity in the summer. And with wind chill, it could feel like -30, -35. I think like it's sometimes -38 feels like. But I think our winter really starts maybe in the end of December, but mostly like January, February, March is winter. And it's very slushy, lots of like slush.
It can be -30 here.
Yeah.
Nobody told me about it.
You got here in May.
No, but
Really?
some people tell me that
It's like mild. Oh, it gets
maybe
cold.
10 or 5, -10 or -5, and I say, oh, it's like Ukrainian weather. And these people from Ukraine who lives here for 25 years, something like that,
Well,
they say, yeah, it's Ukrainian similar.
Well, yeah, it's like it can be -30, but it's like, you know how in the summertime we have suddenly feels like 40 degrees?
Yeah.
It's the same in the winter for like super cold. Like it's there for like a couple of days and then it's back to like it melts again. And then big snowstorm and wind chill of -30 and you're like, okay. And then it melts again. So every day is different. Keeps you on your toes.
But winter continue for how long?
Until March.
I heard that winter more than 3 months only, maybe more, and it's a little bit.
It definitely feels like it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I guess it starts to get chilly probably in November actually. In December you're so excited, you know, for like Christmas and any like New Year's, the holidays. There's tons of holidays many religious holidays, I don't know all of them, that you celebrate. And then it's January and then you're like, okay, it's still snowing. And then it's February and you're like, I thought we already had, you know, New Year's. It's time for it's time for not cold. And then in March you're like, yay, spring. And it's still snowing. And then in April, there's always like one more snow in the first week or two. And then it's like sort of spring. And then you have spring for a week and then it's summer. It's just like, we don't have very long spring. It does get very rainy though. It's very rainy. That's, yeah. We don't have as much snow as I love snow. Although it can be a big pain, but we don't have as much.
Yay!
You didn't even see me take them out of the oven. I didn't even have to. I just snapped my fingers and they were on the counter.
Cool.
Easy. Magic. Yeah.
So, let's continue.
Let's do it.
Could you recommend us, please, for those who came to Toronto as a newcomers or a tourist, your favorite place in Toronto where it's necessary to go and what to see?
There are so many good places to go to in Toronto. I think if you're touring, and even for myself, even not as a tourist, I love to go to these destinations just because I think in terms of attractions, I mean, you got to go see the CN Tower. It's like how you orient yourself in the city. It's like, which way is south? There's the CN Tower. So you got to go there, and there's a great steam whistle brewery there. We were actually enjoying some steam whistle tonight, like the beer. There's the Aquarium down there. If you want to go see a baseball game, Rogers Center, that's really fun as well. If you head to the East End, to the beaches, they've got a brewery there too. I like beer. And they've got a great beach. If you like beaches, Toronto Island. They've got everything for the whole family in Toronto Island. You've got, I think they have a petting zoo, if I'm not mistaken, and some great beaches. There's a nude beach there too, if that's something you're interested in. And you can take a ferry or a taxi, a water taxi. And the other things you can do, these are the last 4 cookies. Casa Loma, which is a little castle. It's not actually, no one royal lived in it. It was built by, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think a man built it for his wife, and then they gave it away to the city. So that's a really cool sight to see. And in terms of museums, the AGO, Art Gallery of Ontario, Royal Ontario Museum, you get to see some stuff there too. I know Ace Hotel in downtown Toronto has some really great interior design. And so in terms of cocktails, I really enjoy Civil Liberties, which is on Bloor Street. And then there's in the Junction, Famous Last Words, Hole in the Wall, that's kind of like in the West End because that's where I am. You got Greek Town on the Danforth, this is the East End, and there's a really cool family-owned place, and they do like spanakopita, tiropita, honey balls, it's so good. You know, and there's just so many amazing places to eat. If you go on the Toronto Railpath, if you decide to go on a bike ride, and you can like rent a bike in the city and bike along the lake shore, and then something called the Toronto Railpath, and if you Google Toronto Railpath, you'll find it. And then you can stop in either to the Mocha, which I forgot what it stands for, but it's a lovely gallery, and then Henderson's Brewery there, which is another Toronto brewery. And in terms of entertainment, I mean, it's worth checking out what there is. We have so many concert halls. There's the Danforth Music Hall. There's the Horseshoe Tavern. Many others that I can't think of at this moment. Classical music, you got the Four Seasons Center. We have the Canadian Opera Company. We have the Toronto Symphony Orchestra in Roy Thomson Hall. And both halls, which, by the way, are so beautiful. You know, if you're into architecture and interior design, and honestly, just taking a walk through the neighborhoods. You got great nightlife in King West. You got, yeah, and you know, Queen Street West neighborhood has great thrift shops. Bloor Street West, super family friendly. The Danforth, Greek Town, the Junction. You get a more hip vibe. You know, yeah, just visit each neighborhood one at a time. There's a lot of great Polish food in Roncy, Roncesvalles, and I had a lot of fun a couple of weeks ago at one of their pubs, the Local. So that's fun. There's Bandit Brewery over there. You can tell I like my beer. And yeah, there's just so many spots. And my favorite French patisserie place is Patisserie 27, which is in the West End. Very much worth a try. Yeah, I have more in there, but I'm terrified to touch it all. It's gonna come spewing out. I'll write it out for you.
Yeah,
what else?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's an interesting list.
it's so long. I could keep going. There's so many things. There's also the Ontario Science Museum. So it depends what you like. Like if you like nightlife, I would recommend, like if you like clubs and stuff, King West. If you want a family-friendly day, even just a beach day, Toronto Island, like there's just so many, and even the simplest like touristy things like the CN Tower and stuff is still so much fun. I went there a few weeks ago and I was like, why don't I ever come here? Like there's so many tourists everywhere, but I'm like, I feel so good, tourist in my own city. It's so fun because it's so great to see. There's so much good stuff. Always something new, and the city's always changing. It's always growing. So yeah.
Thank you. I can see you really love Toronto. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for this interview.
What a great time.
So
now we enjoy some cookies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're not gonna eat them tomorrow morning.
Or maybe now.
Time for tea. Tea and cookies.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Thank you.